a big sporting event, big, kind of crossover thing. We've seen this happen in recent years where we have these crossover boxing matches. We got this Friday coming up. We have Anthony Joshua fighting Francis Ngannou, and it's an interesting matchup because this wouldn't have happened, obviously, because Francis fought Tyson Fury, who is the current heavyweight champion, and obviously Fury is known, he's a very inconsistent fighter. He comes in some fights looking horrible, and then other fights he'll come in looking phenomenal. It seems like he wasn't super motivated for that fight versus Ngannou, but nobody gave him a chance to even compete. Coming in there, obviously it was a non-title fight. Coming in, giving Tyson Fury a really good fight. A lot of people thought Francis won the fight. He did drop Fury. We'll see how he does against Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, Olympic gold medalist, two-time champion. He's won his last 3 fights. He's looked really good. Obviously, he's known to have a horrible chin. He really has, I would say, of heavyweight champions, one of the worst chins in history. And
That's
going
the big
against
difference.
a guy like Francis, who
He has the
is
power.
a very, very powerful man, that could be a huge thing. And the big thing is Joshua is a much more skilled boxer than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury just uses his sheer size, 6'9", 270
Yeah.
pounds. Joshua is a very skilled fighter, but if Francis connects, you'll put Joshua in trouble. Joshua can, cover up and stuff. He's experienced, but we've seen him knocked out before. So
I,
I don't know if he'll be able to hold up to that. I would say most likely Joshua should win on paper because Joshua is a very powerful puncher. Him hitting Francis is a lot tougher than Tyson Fury hitting him. Joshua has a lot more power than Tyson Fury, but I'm really interested to see what's going to happen here because if Francis gets this win, which he very well could, I see no reason why he shouldn't be in a position to fight the winner of Tyson Fury and Usyk, which that's going to be for the undisputed heavyweight championship. So we'll have one heavyweight champion for the first time since Lennox Lewis, I believe, back in 2000 something. So we'll have one heavyweight champion in that fight. I think Francis should get the right, or whoever wins this fight should have the right to fight the winner of that fight. And I mean, you never know. Francis is a very, very powerful man, one of the strongest fighters. I think probably the strongest fighter in the world right now.
I think I think everything you said is completely true. I think Tyson didn't expect Francis to come out and be as powerful as he is,
Yeah.
and I don't think he took that full camp seriously, knowing it wasn't for a belt. It was against Ngannou, an MMA guy who's just big. I think Joshua looks at that fight and goes, okay, Francis is going to come out and beat Francis. He's going to be big. He has the powerful punch. You've seen it in MMA. You saw it against Fury. He knocked him down. I think Joshua takes this a little more seriously. I also think Ngannou takes his camp more seriously, more towards like a boxing,
Well, I
less
think he's going to be fighting
wild.
his heart out
But
because money.
yes, but I think Francis fighting Fury hurts his chances against Joshua. I think no one knew what Francis was going to do coming out. Now Joshua has tape, and Francis is only going to continue to tone up his boxing, and then straight up boxing for boxing, like you said, Olympic gold medalist, the reach, the power, conditioning. He's a pure technique boxer. Like I think that hurts Francis because Tyson was not like that. He uses his size. He tries to overpower. I think that benefited the way that Francis went in to try to fight. I don't think Joshua is as good a matchup for Ngannou.
I disagree with that because I think Francis is only going to get better as he's spending more time doing boxing sparring, training specifically for boxing. His technique needs to be on a certain point because it really doesn't matter how powerful you are. If you're straight up beat to the punch with timing, you're beat to the punch. You can't touch a guy. And if he, in that, it'll be in slow motion for Joshua if that's the case and the timing's off. I think Francis getting more experience with boxing and getting in, a full training camp with Fury, a full training camp now for Joshua. I understand Joshua is going to be motivated because, if you go out and destroy Francis when Fury couldn't beat him, that'll put him in a position. Because if you look at the times where Joshua has fought mutual opponents as Fury, because that's the big money fight that they've wanted to make in the heavyweight division for a long time, it just never worked out because either Joshua would lose or something, some sort of crisis would happen. Any mutual opponent, Joshua has performed better. So I think he's going to look to come out and really do well. But my thing is, the heavyweight boxing is very different than welterweight boxing, where that's coming down, where you have a guy who can just come out, has better timing, piece you up, you're the same weight, that's all skill. Power matters a lot, but it's really about timing and everything. Heavyweight boxing is a little different because the heavyweights, especially, of the last 30, 40 years, are not nearly as skilled. And it really comes down to, brute strength makes a huge difference, and size. So when you have a guy like Francis, and again, look, if Francis was fighting, somebody like Muhammad Ali, who has a granite chin, can't budge him, you could hit him with everything but the kitchen sink, he's not going. It's a disaster. But a guy like Joshua, where you tap him with a jab and he's wobbling all over the place, I think this could be Francis's moment to break out. I really do. And I think if he wins this fight, he's going to be in line to be making, I don't even know how much money. Maybe in his next fight, $30 million plus, which for a guy coming out of the UFC where he's making $1 million most, that's going to be a lot for him. And I'm actually very happy for him considering his situation growing up and everything. I think I'm very excited for him.
I mean, yeah, he had a long journey, and I think that going from MMA to boxing is way easier than going from boxing to MMA. He does have the power to knock out Joshua. Like you said, Joshua's chin isn't the greatest. He got knocked out by Ruiz, which we thought that there was no way that was gonna happen.
That was a big, big upset.
Huge. But my thing is that now that Ngannou is going to have 2 full camps of full boxing, how much is it in his head to be like, all right, I'm a boxer. Technique, timing, all of that matters. And then how long into the fight does he start to tire down? If Joshua could push this, like you said, maybe to like 5 or 6 or 7, and try to like wear him down and box technique and not just look to get not knocked out, heads on his swivel, piece him up a little bit. How much time does it take for Francis to fatigue and then be like, okay, maybe let's abandon what I taught? Because you saw that a little bit at the end of the Fury match.
He tired down.
He tired down. So I'm curious. I understand that Francis has a huge opportunity. It's all like for the money, like you said. The opportunity is fully there. He can beat Joshua. I'm curious to see how he performs, knowing that Joshua is going to come out and try to destroy him with a full camp, knowing that he almost knocked out Fury.
Well, I'm kind of with Paul here, where you got a weak chin, especially in the heavyweight division. One punch can take you down, or can severely swing the flow of the fight. I mean, Francis comes out and gets one good punch in on him, he could be down for the count.
Yeah. I would love to see that. I would love to see Francis go from boxing to,
especially like Paul's saying. I mean, you take one to the chin, all of a sudden you start wobbling. That one punch maybe becomes 2 punches. You can't get your hands back up fast enough. That's where problems really start to arise. As if that happens early in the fight, before he starts to fatigue, before everything starts going out the window, I can easily see him taking this. I mean,
as a guy,
the window's there.
As someone who followed Francis more from MMA and is not like fully into boxing, I'm more curious to see how his progression into boxing, like technique wise, from his camp is more, because it didn't look as great as it could have been against Fury, but also it looked like Fury didn't take the fight 100% seriously right away.
I don't think Fury really trained for that fight.
Yeah,
I think
neither
he
do
went
I.
in and did some, bag work. To me, and that's been Fury's whole career, is he'll come out one fight, look phenomenal, and then next fight he comes in against a borderline top 10 contender and can barely beat him.
That's why I'm curious to see how. I think Joshua is 100%. He's in it to win it. He's been training. I'm curious to see how Francis comes out and how his progression from MMA to boxing, knowing that Joshua's going to come in and not take the fight like Fury. He's going to take it like an Olympic champion, essentially. Even though he's older than he was when he was in the Olympics, but still, he's still a primetime boxer. And Ngannou wants to be a primetime boxer. And I'm curious to see how the conditioning, the hand technique is, the punching, the timing, all the things that Paul said, especially with the heavyweights and you're like the one punch knockout. Can he keep his hands up for that long a time? All the little things I'm curious to see.
Well, I think it's really what should happen is an Anthony Joshua knockout in about the 5th or 6th round. That's what should happen. But we'll see.
I can see
it
that
has
in the middle
look. Here's the thing I'll say for Francis. This has happened before. This is a little bit of boxing history, some rare stuff. There was, back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a man named Tex Cobb. He was a professional kickboxer and movie star. And all of a sudden, he turned, because he was a big MMA guy.
I know you're talking about.
Wanted to turn into a boxer. And he went in, he started his boxing career, rack up a couple wins against some guys. Gets in with Ernie Shavers, who most people consider to be the hardest, not most, but most boxing historians, take out the casuals who are like Mike Tyson. The boxing historians are going to say that Ernie Shavers is the hardest puncher who ever lived. That's who Muhammad Ali said was the hardest puncher, who he had fought George Foreman, a lot of really hard punchers. He's Ernie Shavers' hardest puncher. Tex Cobb goes in there. Nobody expects him to win. He knocks Ernie Shavers out. Then he goes in, he knocks out Leon Spinks, who had beaten Ali, Olympic gold medalist, beats him. He challenges Larry Holmes for the heavyweight title. He loses that, but still, it's a guy who wasn't boxing since he's 7 years old. He came in with a MMA background, movie star, goes in and ends up challenging for the title, beats a lot of really, really good fighters. It has happened before. It only could happen in the heavyweight division. Like, if you took Sean O'Malley and put him in against Tank Davis, that's a 2-round annihilation.
Oh,
that's just
I don't think any fan would question how, it's almost like the McGregor Floyd. I mean,
that was a joke.
I don't think Floyd took that seriously, obviously, and that was all promotion and money. But I don't think any fan is saying that. If you took an MMA guy, I would say, what, 180, 185 maybe?
Yeah, you took a light heavyweight. If you took a light heavyweight,
middleweight.
Yeah, a light heavyweight in boxing against somebody who's 175 in MMA. That's talking Archer Beterbiev versus whoever. That's I'm telling you, 1 round. That's it.
That's a totally different thing. And it's the same thing with MMA too. The one punch. You see the heavyweights standing, and it's like a body shot and a head shot, and all of a sudden they're on the ground in 2 seconds.
Right.
So anything can happen. And I'm hopeful for Francis. I would love to see him come out. I just think Joshua. I think Joshua has this.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to quickly just touch on the Floyd McGregor thing, because that's the thing that people point to. Oh, McGregor did well. He definitely surprised, but here's really what you have to consider, right? They're fighting. Floyd started out his career at featherweight, 126 pounds, and he was really in his prime at 140 pounds. That was really where he, was at his best, 140, and then 147. This was at 154. This was the highest Floyd ever went, and legitimately, he was kind of washed about 4 years before that, and then he had a few fights. And then he was not fighting for 2 years, went in no tune-ups right into this fight. And to be honest, Floyd, historically, is not a strong puncher at all, even when he was in the lighter divisions.
He's a defensive
can't,
guy.
To a boxing term, is he can't crack an egg. He really can't crack an egg, especially at 154, and being that washed. For him to just go in against McGregor, he kept his hands up for 9 rounds. He wanted to give the people a show, and then once McGregor got tired, he just moved in and stopped him. So it was, it's a little bit different than like something like this.
Yeah, obviously. I'm just trying to make like because you got like O'Malley. If you took someone else in their prime and put him against Tank, yeah, Tank's gonna piece him up in 2 seconds.
Yeah, but
and
anyway.
any lightweight.